Javi, if I tell you, edit this, it's a joke. We don't edit.
We don't edit. This is a raw conversation.
Let's see.
Joining us today is the incredible Greg Henriques. A teacher, mentor, Greg has traveled the globe to learn from the world's best.
Now, you've gone to over 100 congresses.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, 121 by now.
121.
This weekend, 122.
He brings a wealth of international experience to the table, but the path isn't always smooth. Today, we're digging into the real struggles of being an instructor.
When I speak to my friends and the other teachers, financially, they are in a tough place. Because in dancing, if you think about the percentage of people who actually financially make it, it's really tiny.
And explore the soul of the movement. What are the 3 types of connection in dance?
Connection, it has 3 dimensions. The connection with myself, the connection with the other person, and
All this and much more right here on Step by Step, where every step tells a story.
Welcome to Step by Step.
oh my God, such an honor to be there. It's the first one.
Yes, and we are so happy that you're the first one. Actually,
Yes.
we chose you for a reason. And the very first question that I want to ask you, knowing that this is a podcast about dance, we've already established this, but as you'll see, it's really about that every step tells a story.
Nice.
So we actually really want to go a little bit beyond the artist and get to know you and what has your journey been like in the world of dance. I think it's easy now in the kind of Instagram, TikTok world to look
Yes.
at people where they're at a peak and
Yes.
it's like, wow, you're so good and your demos are amazing. And it's like,
I look at
how
them
awesome,
too.
right?
And I think, oh, one day I'm going to get there.
We all do this, but we want to figure out, how did you get there?
Yes.
What were the steps involved? What were some of the struggles? What were some of the lessons learned? And so the first question that I want to ask you, and I have heard you ask this to your students, so I'm going to throw it right back
Cool.
at you,
Very
is
good.
why do you dance?
Yes, why do I dance? I ask this a lot.
Yes,
I
you
think
do.
we should always remember why we do what we do. But in the dancing especially, you can get lost. Yes, and I think I've gotten lost at some point in my journey, and
Okay.
actually in several ways. So it's interesting. We'll go back to that. But yes, why do I dance? Oh, because it makes me happy. So that was the reason why when I first experimented dancing, it was as a personal challenge. My question when I started dancing was, what is the thing that you would like to do, but that you are fucking scared of doing? And it came big, wide, clear, bold in my head. It was like dancing, you know, because especially as a man, don't want to be too, macho and stuff. But it's true that we are not so naturally good at moving our bodies, especially if you've not done anything artistic in your life. And it's something in my heart that I always wished I could do better. You know, like you go to a party, you go to a wedding, and you feel ridiculous, yeah? And so I had a calling. I tried salsa classes years ago, and I really loved it. But then I gave up. You know, sometimes it's just not the right time in your life. But I felt that I liked it. So I started. My why was I want to enter into something that gets me out of my comfort zone, makes me grow, but also as a way to kick myself out of home, because I had my own business, I had my workout routines, and I was recently divorced. So I was in a routine of life that became a prison. You know, sometimes you have to be careful. Like you think everything is healthy, but so yeah, I was getting to bed at 9 or, waking up at 5 and working out and super healthy and super everything in control. Depressing. So dancing came and just turned upside down my whole lifestyle, my whole routines, my social life, my workout life, my finances, everything. Yeah. But the why was to learn something new, challenge, and what I realized then, it makes me happy. So this is what got me to continue. And the third reason, which came later on, is the purpose. It gave me a purpose on actually realizing what I really always looked for in my life, which are ways to inspire people and help them to grow. And there are many ways you can do that. I just didn't know being a dancer could be one. So my why evolved, and right now it's really the why that makes me continue, is still to grow, to challenge myself, stretch myself, and to inspire and serve my purpose through my dancing and through my teaching.
Super. I love that. And we will definitely get into the purpose bit, because it's actually one of the biggest things that I really appreciate about you. And it's so obvious in your teaching style that you take such a huge responsibility as to what it means to be a teacher, and that you really take great care in kind of what you convey. So we'll definitely get into that. I also want to talk to you about the getting lost, because I think it's one of the interesting kind of paths to take and how you brought your way back.
There are traps on the way.
100%. But I'm interested to hear, if you look at kind of your involvement in dance, what have been your dance chapters? So you've talked about starting salsa a little while ago. What would you say if dance was a book in your life? What would be the big chapters?
So chapter 1, baby. I actually joined the gym where they were giving generic dance classes, which were more like ballroom. And it was a great concept because it was one dance a month. And this way I could discover valse and cha-cha-cha and tango and merengue and a bit of salsa, but not a lot because it was too difficult. Because it was at 11 in the morning, and as an entrepreneur I had flexible timings, but the rest of my class were retired people of more than 60 years old. So I was the youngster in the class. But it was so fun. I enjoyed my time there. I did this for nearly a year. So that's my first chapter, baby level, discovering that I love dancing. No idea that it would become my life purpose and take control of everything. Then bachata. So I fell in love with Dominican Republic and the bachata music and the culture.
You went there? You went to Dominican Republic?
Yeah, first time when I was 15. I've been 4 times since then. So it's really personal. It's really in my heart. Before I was dancing. So I was listening to Aventura and Romeo Santos when, if I would invite you to my house for a barbecue, I would put bachata. And then one day, chapter 2 happens because the main teacher of those classes is injured, and comes another lady and she said, okay, today we're going to do a bachata class. And I realized the music I love can actually be danced. And I could actually then use my interest for dancing and my affection for bachata and put them together. Wow. Okay, but this is time where baby Greg has to go to teenage Greg, and teenage Greg is like, okay, let's go to a real dance class. Like not, the grandma level, but like, okay, a real dance class. And so I remember still today I was on my scooter and I was on the way to the dance class, which I found on Facebook, whatever. And I'm like, you're crazy. Don't do that. This is a bad idea. You're not good at this. You're going to be ridiculous. It's going to go bad. And I just, no, I'm going. And yeah, of course, it's your first class and they say, warm up, free dancing. Yeah. Sorry. But somehow it happens, you just go through it and it's just one class and then you go to the other. And little by little, you start learning what it means. And then comes the next chapter, which is very personal for me. And I think universally, we all want to learn and get better. But I'm particularly obsessed with growth and self-improvement. So for me, it became like a mission. It's like, I want to be good. And you have those first socials when you come and you're full of shame and you think, and insecurities, and it's like, I'm so bad, and the girls look at me like I'm a disaster, I'm not worthy of anything. But somehow I was going home not with shame or sadness, but with motivation and determination. It's like, I'm gonna come back, and one day I'm gonna be the best in that social, and so that then fed, let's say, the next chapter, which is working Greg. So now I'm not anymore dancing just because I like it and it makes me happy, but also because it's my mission, it's my challenge. And I start being more curious about how to dance, and I start looking for other teachers, and I start going beyond my local city, looking in other countries, going to my first festivals, and opening my spectrum, my consciousness of actually what is bachata, and entering deep into this world. And the next chapter after that is because I was accumulating knowledge and experience beyond my local scene, I became known for that. And people started to look at me as a point of reference or a point of let's say, information, because they were not going. They didn't have the chance I had of being able to go out. And so little by little, it started to be, hey, Greg, show us this thing. Hey, what do you think about that? Hey, I know you're doing this step. Nobody does it. Can you explain it to me? And so this leads me to the next chapter, which is, hey, the main teacher at the next open air social is not available. How about you give a class? But I'm not a teacher. I say, yeah, but you know stuff. But I don't have the level. Yeah, no, it's okay. And then I find myself giving a class first time. And I said, I don't want to be a teacher. I'm not a teacher, but okay, I can share stuff. And then little by little, it's like, oh, you want to do it again? And then, you know, when things come to you and you don't want them, it's actually sometimes like the most interesting. And I'm finishing my story soon. And little by little, after saying so many times to so many people, I'm not a teacher. I don't want to teach. I'm a dancer. I want to enjoy the social. I don't want to be a teacher. And one day I was like, damn it. I love it. I love it. I didn't know I loved being a teacher or teaching, you know, which is totally different. So this, one of the things we talk about is being a teacher and being a dancer are two separate responsibilities. And I think I'm very conscious of that. And sometimes I think people mix, you know, being a great dancer and being a good teacher. It's two different things, two different skills. And I loved both. And I kind of embraced it. And this is the next chapter. It is now, okay, I am a bachata teacher. Now let's get good at it. Let's get myself certified. Let's continue to grow so that I can be a credible dance teacher. Also reading books about how it is to be a teacher and getting some references and my first classes in my own studio, feedback, learning with my students, together with them, with my partners. And then the final chapter of this journey where, you know, I find myself right now would be a more like getting out of my scene, getting out of my city, moving to Barcelona as a student. So saying, okay, I need to step up if I want to reach the level of, you know, being internationally competitive in Jack and Jill's competitions, and also being careful not to lose my humility, because when you're a teacher and you become a jury at competitions in your local scene and you go to all the festivals, naturally suddenly you start to think, you know, oh, I'm someone, and people treat you like, oh, you're someone. And I got scared of that because I said, okay, I think given my nature that I'm very ambitious and very impulsive and intense in what I do, if I let myself enter into this I'm someone, it's gonna become arrogance, and I don't want that. I'm scared of that. So let's jump back into being a student. And so that brings me here. But next thing I know is, hey, Greg, this teacher is not here. Do you wanna teach? Oh, and now you're touching my heart because I love teaching, so I can't refuse. And then one class, and then it's like, hey, they loved you. How about you come as a regular teacher? And then you just, you know, for me it was like, wow, there's something around destiny that I never tried to control this path. You know, I don't lead the path leads me, pulls me, and the people pull me, and that's scary. You know, sometimes it's like, wow, because in other areas of my life, like business and stuff, it's the contrary. Sometimes I have to push hard and work hard for stuff. But somehow with dancing, the only work I have to do is improving my dancing, my technique, and myself. But the rest is just come. So that's like the chapters.
I love that. And I find it so interesting that teaching wasn't something you intentionally went into. It almost feels accidental on your journey that it happened to be you were doing it, because having watched you, and kind of full disclosure for the people listening to us, I've been to your classes, we've done socially before, and I can see what a huge passion it is for you and a huge sense of purpose behind what you do. So it's really interesting to me that wasn't perhaps an intentional choice in the beginning.
You could say yes and no, because as a teacher as such, it was never an objective. However, I'm the elder brother of my family, and I grew up in a family very traditional. So I think I grew up with a sense of responsibility and leadership for my brother, my sister, and even my parents. Then I was a manager in most of my career in corporate. So I was a leader, I had a team to manage. And so you are not a teacher, but you have a responsibility of leading and influencing and inspiring and motivating. So these skills I worked on, but never as a title of teacher.
Absolutely. And actually, you've answered one of the questions I was going to ask you, which was, you know, from dance being a hobby that you really enjoyed to this becoming a career, kind of what shifted for you and how did that come about, which I guess was getting into teaching and slowly opening up sort of doors, right? Yes,
and I have a different path than most people who will probably visit Step by Step podcast in the future. Because from what I see in the scene, I'm more than 40 years old. I'm going to turn 42 next month. And I have a life before dancing. And most of the really good dancers, they started super young. And they are in their 20s, maybe early 30s, because they basically dedicated their life to dancing. I didn't. I started at 35. So it's a very different situation for me because what I needed to work on is my body, is my technique on how to move my body. But you could defend that in terms of having a little bit more consciousness on how to speak publicly, how to manage my time, my finances, my energy, how to manage myself. I have a life before. And also because I had a nice career in corporate and I started investing as a real estate investor quite early on in my life, I am financially without pressure, which is a huge difference to everybody else in the dancing world, or most people. And I also think that this is why my teaching can be different, because I never have to choose to teach for money. So if I have a decision to make that is maybe anti-commercial, but is right for the people, I can afford it. You know, even if I do it for free, so what? I don't need the dancing to pay my rent because I own my house and I have no rent to pay. So I'm okay, you know, and I'm saying this with humility, but it's a privilege. It's a super nice situation that of course makes my situation way easier when it comes to dancing.
Yeah, but I think the humility is acknowledging the privilege, right? So I think it's super good that you do that.
And I worked for it, you know, so there's no shame because I started from zero. But it's just that I'm very conscious when I speak to my friends and the other teachers and the artists and so on. Sometimes financially they are in a tough place, you know, because in dancing, if you think about the percentage of people who actually financially make it, it's really tiny. So you have world champions and artists that are famous and traveling festivals, and they have a really minimal salary compared to what you can get, for example, in a corporate career. It's a reality, and it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to pick up on a point that you mentioned earlier, which is this difference between really good dancers and really good teachers.
Yeah.
Because I fully agree with you. I think there are differences. Just to kind of break down the mechanics of that, what do you think makes a really good dancer versus just a good one, right? So what's great versus good, and what do you think makes a great teacher versus just a good one?
Okay, 2 questions.
Yes.
In corporate, if I make the parallel, you know, I was working in IT, and in IT we had the same issue because, you know, back in the days, now with ChatGPT is different, but before you had like specialists. So in the career path, we call them specialists, and they were really good at, for example, programming one system, or they were subject matter experts. And what happened in corporate is over the years, those specialists became important for the business. And so they were promoted. And the only way to promote a specialist back in the days, I'm talking 15 years ago, 10 years ago, it was to promote them to a manager. But this is a problem because they were really good specialists. But suddenly you put them in a leadership position with people, they're totally lost because maybe that's not what they want and that's not what they're good at. Yeah. So there was a confusion that if you're good at your subject where you're a matter expert, then we promote you as a manager. And it's a little bit traditionally the same with dancing. It's like if you are a really good subject matter expert in a specialist, meaning a really good dancer, we promote you to teacher, because if you're good, that means you can teach to others. Well, that's not true. It can be, but it's not necessarily true. Being a great dancer means you have worked in your mind, in your heart, and in your body how to dance. You understand the music, you feel the music, you understand your body, you control your body, you know how to move it, and you know how to execute body movements in a way that translates your emotion of what the music is making you feel. Okay, this can be kind of a definition. And then there is also the social dancing part. So if you're a great social dancer, it's also how you can create an emotion not only in you, but in your partner, and make it clear, make it beautiful, make it musical, yeah, this dance, in both sides, leader and follower. But then suddenly, being a good teacher has actually nothing to do with that, you know?
What does it have to do?
It has, in a way that, because I was thinking now, okay, I like to say, you know, the NBA coach is often this small white guy, you know, and he's super good at managing the team. He has the strategy, he has the vision, but if you give him the ball, he doesn't necessarily. Now, in dancing, that doesn't apply, because you need to know how to dance, because if not, you cannot really teach it. Yeah. So that's where there is a necessity to be a good dancer in order to be a good teacher. But the necessity is not an implication. That means it's not because you're good at dancing that you're good at teaching. But it's a necessity. So you have to have done the work. You have to have gone through the path. If not, it will be very hard for you to explain it.
Absolutely. And so I'm a good dancer. I've done the work in order, like you say, to be able to move, to be able to execute body movement. I've done the work in terms of music.
Yeah.
What are those skills that will make me a great teacher?
I think dissociate both would be my advice. So you need to consciously work on improving your skills as a dancer. For example, going back to your basics, you know, and going back to the foundations, the essence of what you're doing, because now you have a higher level of consciousness. When you go back to the details, you understand them in a different way. Okay, you do that. But then you split it and you say, okay, I need to dedicate a part of my time not only in practicing and training my dance, my body, but also practicing my teaching skills. And this is where read books, find training programs. I mean, I had loads of conversations with school teachers. I was like, hey, I'm learning how to be a dance teacher. Can you tell me, how do you do when your group is getting distracted? I had this situation the other day where somebody was challenging me during the class. How would you deal with that? So I surrounded myself with teachers, not dance teachers, teachers. I had a coach of teachers as a student. So I was doing like feedback sessions with him, and he was helping me to see, oh, this is what you project as an energy. For example, I started to be a teacher, and I realized I had to make a decision. What kind of teacher do I want to be? Do I want to be the scary, intimidating, tough guy? Do I want to be the friendly body and everybody is laughing? What is the emotion I want to create in my classes? What type of people do I want to keep? Do I want to help people go from 0 to social level? Do I prefer to teach for people who want to get to an advanced level or future teachers? It's like you have all those things to consider, and this is what I put in the box of take time on your daily basis to think about who you want to be as a teacher, how you're working, how you present yourself, get the feedback, get the learning, get the coaching, and grow as a teacher as much as you grow as a dancer. It's kind of a double work. And I think that's hard for people to realize because they are used to spending so much time in improving their dancing, and they all train and they prepare their shows and new moves and so on. But actually, hey, how much time have you spent today on thinking about what you can do better as a teacher?
And I think also when you measure KPIs, right, or the kind of things you think about are very different as a dancer and as a teacher.
Yeah.
Because in the end, your success as a teacher is driven through how your students performing, whether it's socially, whether they're competing, whether they're increasing their level, right? So I think that's a super interesting point. We've talked about your role as a teacher.
And just on that, because I think it's a really important point. Like if there are teachers listening, it's like, what's your KPI? It's a really good one, because you can have, like, for example, you said, and this would be more mine, is how are your students improving? Yeah, this is for me the best measure of my work. But you could also consider how many students do I have in my class. It's another KPI, another objective. But when you think about your commercial objectives, it may be more important. So again, we go back to, you need to know your why in everything you do, and you need to measure your progress, and you need to make sure you have a plan and a strategy to get there. You see how my corporate side is coming, but yeah, it makes sense.
Absolutely.
So sorry, I interrupted.
No, not at all. But I mean, you definitely see the corporate side, and I guess it's a difference between quality, quantity, and within a frame of financial stability, which I get. I definitely see, unfortunately, sometimes people too focused on the quantity of students,
but
and not so much.
I understand, because again, it's easy for me to say, but if you don't have your financial abundance, if you don't have your security when it comes to paying your bills at the end of the month, it's understandable that they have a pressure and they have to make some compromises. It's just reality. But again, be real. Like, if that's your situation, be real about it, and it's okay, Because truth is, there's a lot of money to make on, for example, teaching to a wide variety of people. And especially if you look at, beginners, people who want to dance and don't know how, like, there are so many of those. But how many people are actually dancers and want to become advanced? That's super tiny, yeah? So it makes sense.
But I mean, I guess the point around quality versus quantity, and I think we'll get into that as well, I think it also applies, for example, to your own training. You can measure how many hours do you train, how many classes do you take. Is that the best KPI for your progress? Maybe not.
Yeah,
maybe there's other things you can look at, right? So, but before we get into that, I really actually want to talk to you about a different side of your career, because I know you've gone to over 100 congresses.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Which is crazy.
I think 121 by now.
121.
This weekend, 122.
I think that's insane. And it's awesome at the same time. And I know that you've also competed in a number of Jack and Jill competitions, kind of different levels of scope, size, result, etc.
An incredible amount of getting my ass kicked. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and I'm really interested because I think competitions are clearly a higher stakes scenario than social dancing.
For sure.
Right? And again, maybe your KPI for success can be different.
Yeah.
Your objective can be different.
And demanding different skills from you.
Exactly. And I'm super interested in how do you, especially mentally, prepare yourself for these situations? Because I think you talked before about preparing your body, your mind, and your heart. I'm really interested in the mind.
Yeah.
How do you get your mental headspace ready in order to be at your best?
I think it helps if you have competed before in any other discipline. So I was a triathlete. I did 2 Ironmans, did several marathons. So I think I developed in the past this ability of saying, okay, it's now, and you've prepared, but now it's the moment where you need to apply all your resources in the best possible way right now, because there's not going to be another chance. And if you fuck up, well, that's it, yeah? So it's a skill, and I think that's why I recommend, for example, to my students, or let's say my friends, hey, I want to start competing in Jack and Jill's, but I'm not ready. I say, you should start before you feel ready, because you're going to develop the skills, getting used to it, understanding how you respond to the stress, to the situation, because it is difficult, yeah? And I don't think you can prepare for it. You have to be there. You have to live it, because it's a whole different thing, what you imagine is going to be and what it is, yeah? And that's why, for example, here in Barcelona, in Dio, we have this local Jack and Jill. I think it's brilliant, because it's an opportunity for you to warm up, experience it, accumulate knowledge, get used to it, and then you can go abroad and you participate to the bigger ones. So my response would be, you need to experience, you need to live it, and then you will discover how you respond. I definitely feel way less nervous by now. I think now for me it's almost at the level of I'm excited, but I'm dancing my normal dance, and I don't look at the videos and say, what the hell was going on with my energy, you know? Because it is difficult to control at the beginning.
And thinking also about tips that may be helpful for people who watch this and who are interested in taking part in Jack and Jill and knowing, yes, okay, you can only prepare so much, you kind of just have to do it.
Yes.
Say I'm somebody who is about to go on the floor and I'm super nervous, I'm freezing up, I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing here? Have you been in that spot before? And what were some things you did that maybe calmed you down?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, you're gonna get there. Like whoever has participated could confirm that it's gonna happen. The nervosity, the excitement, and the feeling like you forgot everything. It can happen.
Is that how it felt like to you? You felt like you were gonna forget everything, or how did it show up in your body?
I never really had the impression that I was totally blanking out. Happened to me recently in Madrid. But it's more because I was exhausted. They put the Jack and Jill on Sunday, and I was in the third round of the qualification. So I had to wait for 1 hour. And the fact of being static for 1 hour on a very, very tiring festival, I arrived, the Jack and Jill started, and I was like, oh, I'm half asleep. What's going on? What should I do? But other than that, not really, because I think it is so exciting. It is so intense. Like these competitions are amazing, really. And I always recall the moment when you have your partner and the master of ceremony is launching it. It's like, oh, okay, let's go, Jack and Jill, let's go. And the music starts. It is a moment and your mind goes at, an incredible pace. So the advice is not, don't worry about like thinking what you need to do and so on. You need to control your energy, because with the excitement, you want to explode, you want to jump, you want to do crazy stuff. And actually, the real quality is control, in a way. So whatever you do, you have to do it in a way that you show control. You show that you know exactly what you're doing, and you're mastering it, and you're mastering your partner, you're mastering your musicality, you're mastering your styling. So the mental work is more this one. It's more outside, you may feel like you have an atomic bomb exploding, but somehow inside you need to find the calm and the control and keep doing what you do, what you know to do, because you've done it for thousands of hours, because you've trained for it every day, because you're doing the social all the time, and at the end of the day, you know what you're doing. So this is also the game I was playing with my head. Is like, it's just dancing. You've done it. You know what it is. It's just dancing. Now, having said that, there's a whole chapter talking about how you prepare for competitions, because I suffered a lot. I said I got my ass kicked. And it's first because I'm not a lifetime dancer, and it shows. My body sometimes still looks like someone who has improved his skills, but he's not a natural. Yeah, and so I'm still training to improve that. But also being judged on a Jack and Jill, even if it's called a social dancing competition, is a whole different chapter than dancing socially. Yeah, because you need the external side, you need the projection of your dancing, because the jury needs to see you and see something that reflects quality. And you need to train for that. Because when you dance social, nobody's watching you, you don't care. So I never learned how to project. I never learned how to pay more attention to the external. I was more focused on the internal, which is how we feel when we dance together. How you feel, how I make you feel, and how I feel. But not really how we look. Doesn't matter, In Jack and Jill, it matters.
But what's interesting, if you notice, is we're again talking about a different objective or a different KPI, right? Social dancing,
Absolutely.
like you say, is very much focused on internal experience and almost the exchange of energy. What does it feel like? You do a lead. Am I able to follow it? Am I actively listening, right? It's really this exchange which happens almost without you being able to see it.
Yes.
In a Jack and Jill, like you very well say, it is about your external projection, because you have to be seen.
Yes, it's also because you still need to maintain the internal and you have to manage the external, yeah? Recently, I gave a workshop in a retreat. It was amazing, you know. If you want, it's connection dance. You need to look it up. It's really cool, happening here in Barcelona. And I designed a workshop about how to build trust in your social dancing with your partners. And one of the themes of that workshop was actually playing around 4 styles of social dancers, okay? And actually we talked about 2, that's why I'm thinking about it. The first one is the external, and their focus, primarily focus, would be, I want to be seen. The internal is the other type, it's, I want to feel good, I want to make you feel good, yeah? So I'm focusing on how it feels from inside, doesn't really matter how it looks. And then I also thought of 2 other styles that would complement, let's say, a typical dancing scene. Yeah. So the third one would be the playful. And the playful is more, I want to have fun and I want to make you smile. I want to connect with you on a more fun, joyful tone. And finally, you have the protector, careful. And he's the one who doesn't want to risk crazy stuff. Not so much internal, but more careful. And he's controlled. He checks the space around you. He checks the other people. He checks you. He's going to do few steps, but he's going to make sure you're going to be safe and feeling okay at the end of the dance.
And you're talking about leading styles, right? So this applies to leaders within the dance.
Yes, it's mainly leaders. As followers, you have the same styles, but you have less opportunity to express them. But you can still find your space. But for example, an external follower, even with an internal leader, is going to try to accentuate with amplitude or with, you know, some sharpness her moves. If she's internal, she's going to seek, you know, this connection, this breathing, this proximity. And if she's more the protector or let's say the caring, she's gonna maybe look around and protect her partner and say, be careful, there's someone behind you. So it still happens. And the playful, she's gonna find ways to play with her basic, with her arms, with her legs when she can. So, and I'm saying she, it can be he. But yeah, so it's possible for both, but yeah, the leader has more control over it primarily, for sure.
What I like about what you just said is I think it gives a really kind of accessible language through which to identify different types. We've all experienced, if you've socially danced, you've experienced all of these. Do you think we can all shift kind of dial in and out of the different ones, or we each have a particular type?
So in psychology, you know, Jung has this thing about, I don't know if you know Myers-Briggs. Yes. Yeah, so you have preferences on how you make decisions. And I think it's the same with dancing. You have your preference, but the real dancer, all of us use the various types, and the real advanced dancers systematically knows how to switch from one type to another during the same dance, because the music calls for one or another. A mambo will call your playful side, the intro or the moments of transitions will call your internal, then the external will be with the mahau, and then you would have the protector and the caring always. So absolutely, we have to switch from one to another. And that was part of the workshop, you know, I called out for one style and everybody had to adapt and then see how you actually use all of them.
Super cool. And let's stay on this because I think the majority of people who will be listening to us will be social dancers. Yeah. Some of them may be looking to compete, maybe looking to kind of more advanced levels, even teach, work professionally, but the majority I think will be social dancers. And so one thing you said earlier, I'm not sure I agree with, which is most people don't care about what they project externally when they social dance. They focus more on the experience. And the reason I don't agree is I actually think it's one of the things some people struggle with. This kind of connecting piece and being in the present moment with this song, with the person you've got in front of you. I think it's one of the things in general that can be a big struggle because our attention is all over the place, because you're worried if somebody's looking at you, you're worried if you're doing the step correctly, you know, you can be in your head.
Yes.
As a kind of teacher, what is your experience around this particular hurdle and how do you help your students to kind of be more in the moment?
Yeah, you're right. So I think I was talking more for myself. So that's
Makes
right.
sense.
I think it's, I don't know about everybody. I think it depends on you personally, what's important to you. And also, I was talking more about, I don't know, maybe it's very personal, but even from a teacher point of view, we rarely say, hey, you lead with your body because this is internal, but lead with your hands if you want more amplitude. I don't know, it's a bad example, but it's just a simplified version of, we never differentiate, hey, this feels good, this looks good. We usually focus on, it feels good. Because there is this thing around when we social dance, we thrive for making the people we dance with happy and not, okay, you're going to suffer a bit, but you're going to look good. But it's true that it depends. Yeah, it's true that it depends. Now, how do you put more consciousness around the feeling? It's my passion. It's my mission. Yeah, I believe not everybody is necessarily doing this work as a teacher. Yeah, because at the end of the day, teachers are mainly focused, I think, on providing content, information, options, resources, but how many actually really focus on, hey, let's reconnect to why you dance, and let's make sure that what we do here, what we learn here, is gonna feed your reason for dancing. Yeah. So there's more an assumption, oh, you are coming to classes is because you want knowledge, you want new moves, you want more resources, more content. Really? Is it true? I'm not sure. How do you know? Ask your people, like, why do they come to classes? And I ask myself, that's why I tell you this now, is because I was like, at the end of the day, why do I have students? What do they want? Why do they come? Why do they pay? Why do they spend time with me? And I realized learning the perfect technique actually is not really why they want. Oh, it's cool to know technique, it's useful. But no, they want to socialize. They want to feel good. They want to make friends. And yes, they want to learn new resources that they can use in the social to impress. And yes, they want to be considered better dancers. But there are many reasons, you see? It's not as easy as, just, give them more content. It's like, oh, you're hungry, you go to the restaurant, hey, here's a lot of food, eat it. I was like, no, I want one plate that looks good, that tastes good, and that's it. It's enough for me. So it's complicated to find what is actually the right balance as a teacher that you need to give to people. Are we then getting off track? I'm not sure.
No, not at all. No, it's great. And I mean, the reason why dance can be complicated is when you look at it purely from a technical perspective and, doing certain moves, it can feel like we focus on executing. Mm-hmm. But when you dance socially, especially, it's also really about the connection that you build, and you're not just exchanging information. You lead something and I do it. You also exchange energy.
Yes.
And so I'm interested to hear about what are some of the experiences that you have had on the social dance scene, on the social dance floor. What would you say is, for example, a social dance that you will never forget?
Okay, yes, absolutely. If we enter the topic of energy and so on, I'm going to be excited. Because yes, there's something supernatural about dancing, yeah? There is something emotional and maybe even spiritual, I don't know. Einstein did say that, dancers are the athletes of God. So there's something around here.
I love that. Yeah. I'm going to use that, 100%.
Yeah, it's from him. But there is something divine about this, and we all know it, we all feel it. It's like touching the stars when you dance, and especially when you find someone who is present. So, I've been meditating for 15 years, and I think there is a lot of mindfulness in dancing. There's the breathing, there's the consciousness of your feet in the ground, and there's the touch, and there's the look, and there is the I am here. Right now, I'm not thinking about my work. How many times I've entered the social with serious problems about my company and I had terrible days, but 5 minutes after starting the social, it was all gone. I was dancing and it was all gone. My pain, my emotion, my stress, my fear is gone, Well, then you stop the social and it comes back. But dancing has this power. So there is something divine about it. Now and this is why I'm getting there, it's like, how do you build this energy sharing, and it's almost like vibrating with someone at the same frequency, and suddenly we are in harmony. How? Well, first, be present yourself. So I think it takes a lot of self-work. You need to be present. You need to remind yourself why you're here. And when you invite someone, it's not just because you want to spend time or because the music is good and so on. It's like, hey, I'm curious. Who are you? How are you? How do you want to dance this? And all these are the questions that I have in my mind when I invite someone. It's like, hey, let's kind of get to know each other during a dance. And I'm going to make suggestions because I'm a leader, and then you're going to respond to me. That's because you're a follower, and you're going to make suggestions too. And we're going to smile, we're going to exchange, and I'm going to be here for you. And if I feel that you are scared or anxious or this is too much, I'm going to reduce the pace or I'm going to reduce the complexity. And if I see that you're getting excited, I'm going to give you more so that we can play. And if I see that you like the music, maybe I'm going to give you some freedom so that you can express how you feel this music. But you see, all these themes, it's about me being connected with the person, with my intention, with my consciousness. And I think that's how you build the connection. I think it's very wrong, it's a hard word, but I believe it's very wrong to confuse connection with physical proximity, because there are many ways to connect. And I can absolutely connect with someone in an open position where we just, touch the tips of the fingers, but we smile, but we express our musicality or our interpretation, and we understand each other. And that's connection. So you don't need the face against the face and feeling the body. I love it, yeah? Don't get me wrong. I love it, and it's an amazing way to connect. The love languages, we would talk about, the physical contact, the touch. But it's not the only way. And so for me, connection is very different. Don't get things mixed up. And but it requires for you to be conscious of yourself and to be conscious of the other. I always say connection, it has kind of 3 dimensions: the connection with myself, the connection with the other person, and the connection with my environment. Because again, the environment is very important. There are other people around me. There is a dance scene, there are pillars and stuff, there is a music, there is a DJ. So I need to be conscious of all those things if I want to connect.
Absolutely. No, and I really like the kind of presence as the gateway into real connection with somebody, and also this sense of it doesn't require physical proximity. Sometimes that presence is enough. Absolutely. But also the need to connect with yourself first, because I personally don't think you can connect with somebody else if you are not yourself connected first.
I agree.
Good. So we have talked about connection.
Yes.
We have talked about social dancing.
It's the best.
Yes, I fully agree. One topic I think is interesting, and hopefully the people who are listening to us are also kind of in this process of improvement. You've talked a lot about yourself, this journey that you've been on to train your body, to try and become better. I notice often what happens in the dance scene, and I notice a lot of kind of peers who are also taking classes talking about hitting plateaus and feeling like you were progressing really quickly, and suddenly for some reason you feel like you're stuck.
Yes.
Can you talk to this?
It's a fact. It's a real thing. Okay, it's a real thing. There are two things to say about this. The consciousness, the awareness is something that is very complicated with dancers. And then I like to speak about the speed between mind and body. Awareness is this plateau effect, but it's mainly an illusion from your mind, yeah? Because we all, I don't know, I cannot speak for all, but most people I know, I speak to, and most of my students, at the beginning believe they dance better than they really do, yeah? We lack consciousness of our true level. It's a natural human thing. I guess in our mind it looks better than it does in reality. We are not conscious of the bad postures we may have, the faces we do, our hands. It's too many information for the mind. So as we only focus in what we do and we disregard everything that's not okay, feels good. Feels like you're dancing like Sara and Marco. Oh my God. And then you look at yourself in the video and it's like, oh, I don't want to see this. So work your awareness, and this is why I recommend my students at least once a week, record yourself dancing and confront it. And confront it with as much openness as you can. I mean, to the extent where I remember when I was teaching regularly on Sundays, there was this big social in Lisbon, and every Monday evening with my coach, we would analyze my video second per second. We would look at my feet only, and then my hands only, or my shoulders only, and we would reproduce some of the parts of the dance to understand what went wrong, what could have been better. But it was to that level of detail, second per second, to really gain this consciousness. Of course, it hurts. It's very difficult to take it, but it's the way. Yeah, develop your self-awareness, and this is the plateau effect. Is because most people dance with their eye closed. It's like, I don't want to see myself. I don't want to know. Feels good. I guess it's okay. Yeah. And this is why sometimes then at some point, it's like procrastinating the self-realization that you need to improve and work on some things. So you accumulate as much as you can excuses, but there will be a point where you're going to have to face it. This is the plateau. So it's not that your progression is slowing down, it's your consciousness is increasing. And so you see better your true level and all the work that you have to do. And that's the scary moment. And this is where you're, I was feeling good with my dancing and now it feels like I'm stuck. No, you're actually improving. And this is the thing, like the second point I wanted to make. I really notice for myself and for many people that there is a different speed between learning something with your mind and learning something with your body. Yeah, I take the example, when you're sick or when you're injured, I hurt my arm, something. Suddenly, after some rest, your mind says, you're done, you're gone, you're fine. You can go back to training, you're good, you're back in shape. And then you use it once and it's like, no, actually I wasn't, yeah? This is a fact. Like, I think the mind wants to evolve way faster than the body. Body has its own pace. And for dancing, this is true. So I can understand perfectly some techniques, but it doesn't mean I can do them because they make sense. I can explain them. I can draw them. I can do everything you want. But suddenly when it's time to do them, my body is still struggling with it. So there is a paradox because our mind understands, we assume we can do it, but that's not true. You need to check if your body can do it, and you can only do that by seeing yourself. It's the external point of view. It's the video. The video is such a powerful tool for dancers. You need to look at yourself.
I think it's so cool that you brought this up, and just to kind of share a personal anecdote, I was of the kind of people who hated recording so much that in classes I would hide in the bathroom because I didn't want to record. And this is fact, right? To a point where it got stupid and eventually I just had to force myself to do it. But I think you're so right in that in the corporate world, they say feedback is a gift.
Yeah.
And every recording you do in a way is active feedback as to where you're at, and you cannot get better unless you take stock of where you're at the moment, yes. Right?
It's intimidating, it's scary. I mean, I know. I'm the same as everybody. It's scary because you want to believe you're better, but the truth is, if you don't accept your true level, then you cannot improve. And that's very true. Like, it sounds so easy, so cheesy, but it is absolutely robust as a theory, So yeah.
Super. So want to close on a little bit of gratitude. And so one of the things I'm actually really grateful for and really appreciate about you is the sense of community that you bring to the dance world. So I can see not just, and we've talked about your role as a teacher, which I really appreciate, the sense of purpose, but I also see you not just focusing on yourself and your role in the dance community, but really trying to bring others along with you and kind of this do it together mentality, which I really like. And so in this spirit, and this is a kind of strong belief that we have from all of us at Step by Step, success is a team sport. And so I would like you to think about one person who has really helped you on your dance journey and to just tell us who they are and why you're thankful for them.
Oh, there are so many that I'm going to be unfair to many people, but the one person that comes to mind that really, when we talk about helping me dance the level I dance today, there's one person. Her name is Kira. It's a person who moved from Russia to Lisbon because of the war, and I had the chance to meet her there, and she had a level that was way beyond most people in my city, and we happened to become friends, and she gave me this awareness that no teacher had mentioned before. She really brought me into a world of, like the pure dancing, the real one, where we were doing for hours ballet trainings on how to move our toes and our feet flexibility, and I had to put my fingers and we watched our basic for weeks. We were just looking at the mirror, doing basic and understanding what's moving first, how do we transfer, and do you flex your foot? Oh no, look at my knees, they're dancing, yours not. And she had she was teaching back in Russia, but it wasn't a long experience. It was 2 years helping out, and so she had a curiosity to help me. But with her knowledge, her discipline, her wisdom, and my motivation, we made such a team. And without her, I think there are things today that I would not even understand. I would probably continue to dance and think I was okay without really knowing how great it feels, for example, when you really understand the contact of the floor with your body, and when you press and it gives you this peace. It's amazing. When you dance pure, like technique-wise, and you really understand the millimeters of what you're doing, it gives you a divine pleasure. And this I owe to Kira. So thank you, Kira. But she knows. I call her my dance coach for many years. And we're still friends. We went to Paris recently, and it's so nice. Now we dance, and now kind of, now I say, now I can finally make you dance. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all of your thoughts. I think it's been an awesome conversation. I hope it will be really useful to the people who listen to us.
Yes, I hope to, because it's not about my story. It's about trying to have an impact on others and engage maybe thoughts, conversations, actions. And if you can inspire that, I mean, it's fabulous. And I'm supportive. So anything I can do more beyond this one podcast, let me know. And I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
Super. Thank you so much, Greg. Appreciate you.